Mykelti, actress of Sister Wives, is now sharing the true story of what it was like to grow up in the Brown home. She recently asserted that the Brown children had to earn Kody's love because it wasn't truly given to them freely. Yes, you read correctly. The famous youngster described how her father used to determine whether or not he loved his own child by using certain standards. However, this isn't truly where the story ends. While Mykelti was discussing the dynamics, her mother, Christine, also offered her thoughts. After her ex-partner and the audience were still in disbelief, Christine revealed some startling information. Is this accurate? What is the point of this? What were they able to uncover? Continue reading to find out more. Since the start of Sister Wives, fans have observed how Mykelti used to mediate disputes inside the Brown family. She chose to have a friendly connection with Kody because she wanted her children to have a relationship with her father. Now, however, the roles are entirely reversed. Tony recently discussed how Kody was no longer the same and how his image had morphed on the show. That Kody Brown is Kody Brown from Sister Wives, Mykelti wrote. That isn't my dad, Kody Brown. She described how she couldn't truly comprehend Kody's arguments and conflicts and found it incredibly hard to witness them. Mykelti apparently made it apparent that Kody Brown was not the same person with whom she had grown up and that things had changed significantly since then. Fans of Sister Wives are well known that Kody Brown has no ties with the majority of his adult children. However, Mykelti is now discussing the reasons behind the current situation. She spoke with Christine and David in a recent tell-all Patreon Q&A about Kody Brown's tense relationship with the majority of his adult children. She asserted that her father never really gave his children his affection on a silver platter, instead making them earn it. According to Mykelti, Kody only loved them as children and turned into a very cunning person as they grew older. As they grew older, she added, Kody's love became conditional for them, and things changed. Mykelti believed that the degree to which children respected him and were prepared to sacrifice what he asked of them was a determining factor in his love. Baskets of gifts. When David discovered that the Brown children had to earn Kody's affection, he was shocked. He pointed out that rather than forcing his love on his children, Kody ought to be grateful that he had them. But the actual thing is about to happen. It seems that when his daughters reached adolescence, Kody would present them each a clad ring. Mykelti, however, asserted that she had to earn that as well, and she ultimately purchased it for herself. Although emotional disclosures are nothing new in the Sister Wives universe, viewers pay attention when one of the Brown children talks candidly about their upbringing under Kody Brown's convoluted rule. This time, the person revealing the true nature of life within the Poly family household is Mykelti Brown, the vocal daughter of Christine and Kody. Mykelti disclosed in a startling new admission that she and her siblings had to earn their father's love, calling it conditional and quite different from the unwavering love a kid ought to anticipate. In addition to resurrecting old wounds regarding Kody's parenting style, his obvious bias toward Robyn's children, and the profound emotional scars left on his older children, the news has sent shockwaves across the Sister Wives fandom. But how profound is this emotional gap? And what did Mykelti mean exactly? Let's examine her remarks, their tragic ramifications, and how they capture the family's long-suppressed suffering. Mykelti and her husband, Tony Padron, recently hosted a Patreon Q&A session where the comment was made. In order to hear their frank, often brutally honest opinions on the latest Sister Wives drama, fans frequently tune in. However, things became heavy this time. Mykelti paused, inhaled deeply, and then said something that left everyone in disbelief when a fan inquired about her connection with her father today. My dad's affection was never something that just happened. It was something you earned. The feeling was always conditional. For a while, you kind of lost his love if you weren't doing things his way or if you didn't treat him with respect. She continued after that. She went on, it wasn't like Mom, alluding to Christine Brown. Even when we made mistakes and when Mom was upset, her love remained unwavering. It was different with Dad, though, depending on how successfully you were fulfilling his wishes, that is. It was contingent upon the extent to which you were providing him with emotional support. The phrases earn, conditional, and affection depending on obedience formed a distressing image that many lifelong watchers had already surmised but had never heard so amply validated. You probably won't be shocked by Mykelti's statement if you've been watching Sister Wives. For more than 10 years, Kody Brown's relationships with his 18 children have been a constant source of conflict. Fans saw a different scenario play out on film. one where certain children appeared to receive all of his care while others were left to fend for themselves, despite his frequent sermons about equality among his 4 wives and family unity. Kody's preference for Robyn's kids has been obvious in recent seasons. He has freely acknowledged that he rarely visits his elder children from Christine, Janelle, or Meri, and instead spends much of his time at Robyn's house. He notably imposed stringent guidelines during the pandemic's peak that prevented him from seeing a number of his own children. Robyn's family didn't appear to be exempt from these regulations. Kody's statement to Janelle's sons, "You're not respecting me, so I don't feel safe around you," is one instance that will live on in Sister Wives legend. The fans were appalled. A dad denying his boys love because they were afraid to ask him questions. It was conditional love as defined in textbooks. Mykelti has now articulated what many of the Brown children must have known all of their lives, that their father's affection wasn't something that was given to them freely. Rather, it had to be earned by obedience, devotion, and approval. Christine, Mykelti's mother, was always the source of her emotional stability. Christine stated that she no longer wanted her kids to grow up in a relationship where love was a transaction when she split from Kody in 2021. She desired to serve as a healthier role model. "I don't want my kids to be in relationships like this, where they feel they have to work for love," she said at the time in an interview with People magazine. Years later, her daughter's comment seems to support the idea that Christine wasn't making anything up. Rather, she was shielding her children from a reality they had been living with for years. Mykelti has frequently characterized her mother as emotionally available and nurturing. She attributes her learning of unconditional love from Christine, even after she moved away and became a mother herself. In another Q&A, Mykelti stated, "Mom always showed up. She made sure we felt loved even when she was exhausted or grieving. With Dad, it seemed like he only showed up when we did something that pleased him or when he was proud of us." One of the most significant emotional gaps in the Brown home is highlighted by those remarks. Kody seemed to love his children as extensions of himself, while Christine loved them as individuals. Imagine growing up believing that your father's love could disappear at any time. Mykelti made reference to that reality. It was evident from the first Sister Wives programs that Kody placed a high priority on obedience. From relocating across the country to his religious convictions, he expected his wives and kids to follow his lead. He interpreted any questioning as a personal betrayal. A dynamic like that makes an impression. According to psychologists, conditional love is emotionally harmful because it instills in kids the idea that love must be won via compliance, performance, or perfection. It creates low self-esteem, worry, and insecurity. Kody's older children, particularly those from Christine and Janelle, appear to struggle with his approval, according to frequent comments made by Sister Wives viewers. In a live stream, Mykelti's brother Peyton once stated, "Dad would simply stop talking to you if you weren't doing what he wanted. That served as his penalty." Deep scars were left by that behavior, which was more than just discipline. It was emotional detachment. Mykelti's statement also contains a layer of anguish from what she indicated but did not explicitly state: the disparity between Kody's treatment of Robyn's children and his treatment of his biological children from his previous wives. For years, fans have been aware of this sharp disparity. On camera, Kody can be seen adoring Robyn's children, Solomon, Ariella, Dayton, Brianna, and Aurora, attending their milestones and fiercely defending them. Many of his elder children, however, have acknowledged in public that they haven't seen him in months or even years. Kody explained this discrepancy in one episode by claiming, "I have a full house of little kids with Robyn who need me. My grown children are less dependent on me." However, Mykelti's remarks completely undermine that justification. She clearly stated during the Q&A that love doesn't have an age limit. Just because your adult children are able to drive themselves doesn't mean that you no longer love them. You should use love as the foundation, not as a reward. Fans took that simple fact very personally. On social media, Mykelti received a lot of admiration for speaking out what her siblings might have been too scared to do. Kody's elder children are now mostly adults and are dealing with the emotional impact in different ways. Some, like Gwendolyn and Peyton, have publicly denounced their father's partiality. Others, such as Aspen, have discreetly separated themselves, preferring harmony to conflict. Mykelti appears to be establishing firm emotional boundaries, even though she and her father continue to communicate occasionally. "I will always love my dad," she explained. "However, I've come to realize that love does not require me to agree with everything he does. It doesn't include acting as though nothing is wrong." Additionally, she has stated that she is ending the loop in her own parenting. She remarked, "Tony and I made a promise to each other that we would never give our children the impression that they needed to earn our affection. They exist, which is why they are liked. Forever." Fans responded favorably to that statement, indicating that the upcoming Browns are committed to rewriting the emotional narrative that their parents left behind. Kody has said nothing in response to Mykelti's most recent comments, as is customary. However, he has defended his principled parenting approach in previous interviews. He previously said to People, "I'm not distant, I'm just not indulgent. I think it's important to teach respect, and sometimes that means using tough love." However, a lot of admirers contend that Kody conflates control and respect. His interpretation of tough love has frequently resembled emotional punishment. Robyn has even alluded to the irreparable strain in Kody's relationships with his older children. She sobbed as she said, "He feels betrayed by his kids." In one episode, he no longer knows how to get in touch with them. The tragic irony? They may have the same feelings toward him. Reddit forums and fan pages were inundated with supportive comments following her disclosure. One follower commented, "Good for Mykelti for saying the quiet part out loud." To get Kody's approval, they all had to perform. It's emotional manipulation, not love. "Christine's kids were the glue for so long, and now they're finally speaking their truth," said another commenter. Observing it is therapeutic. Mykelti's candor appears to be seen by the larger sister wives community as a sign of the Brown kids' collective awakening and a way for them to reclaim their stories after years of biased retelling. Mykelti's confession captures the whole collapse of the Brown family, which is its starkest aspect. Sister wives' main tragedy was always about conditional love, not only polygamy or jealousy. Kody's belief that devotion and affection must be earned rather than given freely shattered all of his relationships, including those with his wives, children, and even himself. Christine's departure represented escaping the relationship. Self-respect was symbolized by Janelle's silent rebellion. We can now witness the emotional cost that persisted for the following generation through her daughter's remarks. Mykelti's honesty gives hope despite the heartache. She is showing her siblings and fans alike that honesty is the first step toward healing by owning up to the sad reality that Kody's love came with conditions. She came to the conclusion, "I don't think my dad is a bad person. I believe he simply lacks the ability to love without requiring control." However, love shouldn't have to be earned, so I hope he learns this one day. Anyone who has ever had to wonder if they were enough to be loved may relate to what she says, not just her family.